Hey guys, RB here, blogging from paradise. I wanted to have a little chat, ask you the question, why is forgiving, let's pose it, a superpower? Hold on a sec, you could. You often hear people share the concept, idea of forgiveness on a worldly level, like how most of us have been programmed or conditioned to think of forgiveness. It comes from an egoic, fear based mentality of, well, I'll be the better person, which is fear and guilt. There's no comparison here. That there's no love there. So that's not true forgiveness. Well, you did a bad thing. I'll do a good thing and forgive you. No, no, that's not forgiveness either. This isn't the superpower level of forgiveness. This is the petty, worldly definition of forgiveness, which is not forgiveness at all, but holding a grudge. Unless you're doing it from pure love and the truth of the fact that we're all spirit, we are all love. That's the only reality. So, what appeared to happen with egos and bodies and all that insane world didn't, because fear is an illusion. Wow, that's the superhero forgiving superpower. That's forgiving is a superpower when you begin to see it through that, I'll say, prism. That's quite a different definition of forgiveness, right, than what the world has learned. One of the really cool aspects, or what how the world is programmed or conditioned us, but one of the really cool aspects of forgiveness, when you take it to this superpower level, is that by acknowledging that it didn't happen, even though it appeared to, by looking past the person you're forgiving or the event or the circumstance you're forgiving, by overlooking it, overlooking the event, the person, the circumstance, you clear the fear and guilt. Fear manifests as guilt predominantly from your mind that causes all of your mental and physical problems. Or you could say that's caused every problem you've ever experienced, whether in mind or what appears to be in the body. I would call that a superpower, because as you progressively face, feel, and release fears, you will see that the only problem that's ever been is your mind. Think about it for just a second. How much will your life improve? Won't it feel like a miracle? Won't you feel like you've accessed a superpower when you don't believe that anybody has power over you anymore? Because they can't. That's just a thought. Nobody can control a thought. People can appear to control bodies, and they can appear to control situations and circumstances. Appear doesn't mean reality. Appear means illusion. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door that allows you to step through the illusion into reality or truth. Once you clear increasing levels of fear manifest as guilt in your mind, and you could only do it through forgiveness, you're not going to be having mental issues, mental problems. You're not going to be stressing. I mean, you will, but you'll stress less. You'll have fewer mental problems, fewer physical problems. Because the physical problems, guys, the body stuff, it's your mind projecting. That's how powerful you are. However, most of us, because we're learning to forgive, we're developing this skill in our minds due to our guilt. We view ourselves as a victim. We've all done it. I've certainly done it. I still do it. I still do it. But forgiveness is tapping into that superpower of seeing, man, this really is all my mind. If you want to test this theory, dig deep into the lives of enlightened beings. Those beings who in their mind forgave everything and everyone did stuff to their body, or for you did stuff to what appeared to be their body that showed that it's all in your mind. Breaking the laws of medicine, breaking the laws of physics, breaking the laws of science. They have. You'll read stories of enlightened beings who had their arms chopped off and casually forgave the person who did it and say it's not a problem, fixed it back on. Now to the unforgiving mind, that's like, absolutely not. This is rubbish. And that's okay. You could say that that's impossible, but it's only because of lack of forgiveness that you're not accessing the superpower. The more you clear the fear and guilt in your mind, you will start coming across information, people, places, circumstances, ultimately other minds. You will begin to feel less anxiety in your mind and less pain and suffering in your body. And it's because you'll begin to realize your mind is like an onion. In the center of the mind, instead of being a stinky onion center, there's the Christ mind. There's pure love. There's God. A thought in the mind of God. That's at the center of your mind. Your job solely through forgiveness is to peel away layer after layer after layer. This is all on the outside of your mind, quote unquote. Think of this analogy of fear, egoic guilt. Sorry, guys, this ear. Egoic grief, egoic rage, but guilt is the biggie. To peel that away through forgiveness, to slowly but surely make your way to the center of your mind, which is the Christ mind. It's God. It's a thought in the mind of God. That's what you are. That's a superpower, but it's really how you're designed, you're engineered organically. It's how God made you. Pure spirit, pure love. However, you have to forgive in your mind. And this is not, again, I want to stress, not the egoic, worldly definition of forgiveness. I'm better than you. No. I'll take the high road. No. Anytime you in your mind, because when you say something nasty about someone or say they're scum, and we've all done it, you say, I'm going to forgive you because I'm the better person. You're projecting your fear onto them because you view them as being inferior. You don't view them as being your equal as far as light and love. You view them as being bad. You view yourself as being advanced and they being, or them being, devolved. The only reason you see them that way, guys, is not because of them. It's because what your thoughts of them are. Everything is in your mind. Every thought you have is in your mind. Every thought you have about a person is in your mind. That person, how you see them, is in your mind. It's a projector. This is like similar to a projector in the movie theater. Forgiving lets you clear the fear and guilt from your mind that caused you to project prior, before you forgave, your guilt, your fear, your anger, your rage. Guilt is such a big one, though, guys. Such a big one. The more you clear that, the more you'll think from love and harmony and the idea that you're a spirit solely, only, exclusively, and that other appearance of a person is a spirit too. You'll also get that, or understand, I should say, that their projection of what appeared to be a projection of anger, or whatever the situation was that may have triggered your fear, guilt, anger, rage, was a misunderstanding on their part because they're afraid. When you start to see scared minds, not judgmentally, but I think they're scared and they're going to have a misunderstanding right now. When you start to see critics, angry people, nasty people on a worldly level, instead of seeing a critic or a nasty or angry person or critical person or enraged person as a scared mind in a state of misunderstanding, that's when everything really pops, because then you go through life like a hot knife through butter. It's just easier and easier. And the superpower aspect is, guys, you get that fear and that guilt out of your mind because you're forgiving these scared minds who are afraid, who are just misunderstanding. Then who's going to stop you? Who will hold you back? How will you struggle? How will you have a difficult time? It's literally unstoppable from a high energy, loving perspective. And forgiveness is the key that opens the door, that moves you from illusions to reality, that moves you from fear to love. And you get all that fear and guilt out of your mind, and you do it progressively because it's layered. Remember the onion analogy, guys. On the outside, egoic fear, the illusion, all the stuff you've picked up over goodness knows how long. On the inside is the Christ mind, the love, the light. We're forgiving towards that. The more you forgive, the illusion, the fear, all that stuff, what's predominantly going to be quote unquote left? More light, more love, more joy. The reality, the idea of this reality, I'm just the spirit. Never born, don't die. Now, is that person, I should say, is that mind ultimately, but the illusion of a person, the illusion of a body, are they going to have many mental problems? No. They're going to be at peace. They're going to have a lot of physical problems? No. Why won't they have the physical problems and the health problems? Because no matter what happens with the body, when you don't have the fear and guilt to project upon it, you'll be in a state of bliss. Now, this is the advanced, enlightened level. I get it. But even for us folks who are just learning, and I'm learning with you guys, I'm sharing some from personal experience. I mean, just less extreme examples as far as the body and the mind, but also from advanced beings who've taught me the deal with this stuff as far as mind training. The more you think about it, it makes sense. And the more it makes sense, you'll come across examples of minds, manifest, I shouldn't say manifest, minds that, projected appear to be people that have a lot of health problems. And you'll see how their mindset projects the health problems. Even doctors say, well, it's up to the patient now. It's their attitude. They're saying it's their mind. It's their mindset. Even as they're doing this symbolic medical stuff, right? They'll say that. On the flip side of the equation, I should say the swing side, enlightened beings, Indian mystics, advanced masters, ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, Sri Yukteswar, Babaji, Sri, I can't remember some of the other Sris, Sri Ramana Maharshi, Yogananda. You read of these beings who perfected their mind, who forgave it all, and they access what really is a superpower. Their mind, their body. Let's think of the body. The body is a projection of the mind. When they appear to be raised from the dead, or they're healing others, instantly you see instant health. That's because they've forgiven it all, so they're not in the illusion of fear in their mind. They've removed all the fear and guilt, so they're in bliss. What's left in their mind? The Christ mind, God, love. Does God get sick? No. Does love get sick? No. Does the Christ mind see the illusion of fear and sickness? No. But forgiving is the key, and I know myself, as I've forgiven more fear and guilt goes out of my mind. I forgive it. I forgive those who I think have wronged me until I see that they haven't. They've just reflected my mind back to me. Even that concept that in my mind, I see that more frequently. I process it right away. I feel so much better about me, about the person where I may have had a grievance about them, related to them. And as I feel better, my mind feels better and better, and so does my body. And even if some body stuff appears to manifest word, appears to arise, I'm seeing that it's my mind. And as my mental suffering lessens and I feel better and better in my mind, the body stuff doesn't feel as intense. It's really quite simple, but just uncomfortable. And just as a graphic example, I just drove 6 hours to New Jersey and then back to Virginia, to New Jersey on 6 hours on Saturday morning, like 4 in the morning, and then 6 hours back to Virginia yesterday afternoon to early evening. Now, yesterday wasn't quite as quote unquote intense temperature wise, what the world would call that, with my car or my wife's car, my shared car, technically hers. But Saturday morning was on a worldly level very intense because it's been going down into the 20s at night, 20s Fahrenheit, and the heat isn't working. And usually we don't do long trips. We do really short trips. So it's like, no big deal. We could do a short trip. And we're usually not here in the winter because we are full-time digital nomads. So we go to warm places for the most part during the winter. Sometimes we stick around our native New Jersey, spend some time with friends and fam. But last week, my mom passed on. She passed away. So I drove up to visit my fam. And Saturday morning, after the car was out in the cold from up here on the mountain, up in the hill where we're doing the mountain hill, we're doing the house sit, we're probably like upper teens, definitely low 20s though. It was cold at 4 a.m. and it was really cold because it was pitch dark till like 6:30. So on my really cold, I mean, the world would say, okay, not that the water they put in there froze, but it was noon temperature and it was totally chill by the time I got to New Jersey. Much of the world, including the old me in my mind, would have really suffered. Now, I dressed in layers and I used whatever I could heating wise in the car, whatever strategies. But my point is, I didn't really suffer, maybe just a tiny bit in a couple spots, because the more you forgive and you get the fear and guilt out of your mind, you won't put it on your body as far as the shivering, the misery, the suffering. Like I felt comfortable. That's my point. Without heat, driving 70, 75 with this super Arctic blasted air flowing through the vents. Cold enough to where the water was chilled. My dad and my sister were stunned. It was room temperature when I put it in the car. Frozen yet, but you're like, how could you do that? You're nuts, you're this, you're that. I'm forgiving a lot. The more you forgive, that fear and that guilt dissolves from your mind. You express it, you let it go, then you're not going to put it on the body. You're going to feel more peace of mind and you're going to have more peace of body amidst the illusions or the appearances of suffering. So it's not even the cold. That's what forgiving shows you. It's not people appearing to do things to you. It's your victim mentality. It's not the cold. It's your belief about the cold in your mind. Guys, this is 100% true. And it seems like madness until you really start to forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you're not going to access the superpower and you're going to view yourself as a puny, maybe not entirely, but a victim of circumstances, a victim of the world, a victim of people, a victim of government. And that's not a superpower. That's depressing and it's enraging and it's mediocrity. And by mediocrity, guys, I don't mean in a pejorative sense of not being what the world would call successful. Not that that matters anyway. Mediocrity just means not choosing to be free in your mind and body. Anything else is mediocre because when you forgive, you begin to notice that, oh yeah, you could be entirely liberated. It's a superpower, guys. I'm going to wrap it up now. We're about 20 minutes in. I want to make sure I get my meditating in for tonight. So that's it, guys. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Access this power. The more you move the fear, you feel it, express it. It can be really uncomfortable, but you feel the fear and the guilt in your mind that you've been projecting onto yourself and the world. Your mental and physical problems will lessen and lessen. You become mentally stronger. You feel better in mind, better in body. And the cool part is, as you feel better in mind and in body, no matter what circumstances arise, in the mind and the body. You'll feel good. That ice cold. I don't know what the temperature was in the car, but do the math. But it was 6 hours of doing 60 to 70 to 75 to sometimes 80. Only if I'm over in some spot. But I'd say like 75 pretty much. Maybe 80 when I'm passing people. I just did a wink for the YouTube crowd. So that super chilled 20-degree air, Fahrenheit, 25 degree for 6 hours. And it was all highway driving too, other than like 10 minutes. Being blasted into my face and my body. I had events, but it doesn't make a difference when you're doing 70. I mean, I closed events, but that's nothing. And feeling good and largely comfortable. A little bit of suffering in my feet. They felt there's some pain there. A little bit, not even much, but just kind of freezing up a little. If I hadn't done the mind training, guys, forget about it. Even dressing in layers, it makes no difference when you're in a car and you're driving 70-mile-per-hour winds are hitting your engine. You're driving at 70, so basically super chilled Arctic 70-mile-per-hour gusts, if you will, are going through your engine and coming up into the cabin of the car, going onto your body. If you don't have your mind right, you're going to have a lot of problems. If you have a lot of fear, if you have a lot of guilt, whatever. But if you forgive a lot of that fear and guilt, you'll be fine. It's all your mind. Even though it appears to be cold, it appears to be, you're not a victim. And again, I'm learning this with you guys. I didn't take the ride. I didn't drive for 6 hours in my underwear or in shorts with no shirt, bare feet. I'm not there. But you will see enlightened beings who are totally beyond the world in the past, current day too, who do body stuff because they've forgiven all their fear and guilt. What's left? God, light, love. God gets sick? Nope. Light gets sick? That's a center of your mind. Nope. Christ mind gets sick? Nope. A spirit can't get sick. And the more you realize you're that, through forgiving, that superpower, body's going to be fine no matter what appears to be happening to it. Because how you feel about your body is just your state of mind. That's why you see some people who appear to suffer and they're as happy as could be. And then you have other folks who everything seems to fall apart in their mind and body, and it's because they're holding the grudge. So when you don't forgive, that fear and especially guilt is chains. It's just the darkest emotion. The more you feel that guilt, I shouldn't say feel it, you don't, and you push it down, your mind's going to start going crazy because you're pushing your guilt down and it's getting worse and worse. And then the body will follow. And I don't have to go into graphic examples. We've all seen it of people who have that guilty frame of mind and feel so bad and this and that. And then the mind falls apart as they bury the guilt and they don't forgive, they don't let it go. And then the body really begins to crash, and not a good experience. But forgiveness is the key, guys. Let it go. It's a superpower. Later's YouTube and later's wisdom.